So maybe just not to begin yet and not to start our countdown, I will share a couple of things about Belarusian startups and the ecosystem, which is now in exile. And what do we look on our side from the investors located in Eurasia, either it's Kazakhstan, Romania, or Poland or Lithuania. So I know that multiple projects exist that try to fundraise, and they face very different attitude from the venture capital funds and the angels communities because of their background. This is one of the reasons. The very second question, which is always asked, is whether they still have the presence back in Belarus, and that's also very important to many funds. The third one, I would say, is switching more to the classical questions. What do you have in terms of the traction, previous projects? Then you switch to standard questions from the non-standard. And the idea is that it's definitely not easier for immigrants to fundraise, but maybe it's not harder as well. Maybe it opens up more opportunities. So I have done a couple of researches on Belarusian businesses abroad when we've gathered the statistics after the 2020 elections in Belarus and after the 2022 Russian full-scale aggression. So right now at this moment, we have about 10,000 Belarusian businesses located and officially registered in CEE region. That's not counting all the individual sole proprietorships, not counting all unregistered ideas level startups. So it's already 10K. That's pretty impressive. Poland is being the #1 absolute leader in this with about 7,000 companies registered here. Almost up to 1,000 of them is from the IT, based on the KRS here, the official registry. And that's a crazy statistic. So we have enormous potential, tens of thousands of professionals relocated from the Belarus to the Western countries, not to Western. In some cases, they've relocated as well to the other parts of Asia, like Georgia or Kazakhstan or Armenia. We have about, Konstantin Zapolyansky was saying in his speech, about 60,000 professionals who are relocated out of 600,000, which I've shared this particular number with you. This is pretty much the outline. I see that the whole is getting some attention, so let's begin now. Let's pause in me speaking and switch to our panelists finally. But the very first and simple question would be for you to tell a little bit more about your funds, about your portfolios, and your priorities in your portfolio. Vanda, why don't we start with you?
Hi, my name is Vanda, and I represent the Baltics in this constellation. I work with Iron Wolf Capital. It's a pan-Baltic early-stage VC fund that invests in deep tech and AI. And frankly, we have, out of the funds here, perhaps the least experience investing in immigrant and diaspora founders. But I myself identify as an immigrant. I grew up in Lithuania, but left in 2007 and have been an immigrant since. So I spent a larger part of my life as an immigrant than as non-immigrant, and spent time from Hong Kong to the US and across Europe, and now also in Poland. So in my professional and personal kind of life, I've been gravitating towards expat communities a lot and have been really interested in understanding the dynamics of immigrant founders, understanding the mythology around why these immigrant founders tend to be so successful and so great. So a couple of years ago, I did a research project for a fellowship I was part of at London Business School, looking into some statistics, trying to understand the underpinning cognitive traits of immigrant founders, for why are they known to be building more unicorn founders in the US and Europe alike than native founders, for example. And so today, that research kind of informs my work with Iron Wolf Capital, where I help to develop a strategy for investing in the diaspora founders and immigrant founders in the Baltics, as well as a strategy on developing a pipeline. So that would be me and I Don't Move Capital in a nutshell.
Gotcha. Thanks, Vanda. Borys, what about the SMOK?
My story is from engineer to founder, then successfully exited a startup and then started investing. 6 years ago, we founded SMOK. The idea for SMOK, I co-founded it with my two co-founders, American guy Paul and my Polish co-founder Diana. And the idea is to fund the best Central Eastern European founders targeting the American market. The idea that's mostly, I guess, 90% of founders that we back. We've invested into 4 Belarusian startups so far.
Wow, that's actually one of the leaders here, I guess, in the investments of Belarusian startups. Let's applause to that. 4 Belarusian startups supported by Polish venture capital fund.
So yeah, I'm happy to share why we did that and why we didn't do more later in the panel.
Michal, what about Inovo and your experience?
Hi, my name is Michal Rokosz. I'm one of 4 partners at Inovo. I've been doing VC for 10 years, many different things prior to that. We invested in 50 startups in total. In general, we invest from idea stage up to Series A. We're looking for companies that want to achieve big global success, meaning getting to hundreds of millions of dollars in revenues, and ideally quickly, which have some angle of Central Eastern Europe. So we backed only, I think, 1 Belarusian company, which is Yop by Bahram Ismailov. It's doing quite well. I really recommend the app. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, we have no preferences when it comes to origin of the founders, as long as they're coming from our region. Surprisingly, when I was preparing here, we have much more deal flow and much stronger ties with Ukrainian community, with 20% of our portfolio being Ukrainian, while only 1 investment with Belarus. And I would be happy to kind of deep dive into why that happened like that for us.
Good. Milana, tell us about yourself and the Underline a little bit more.
Hey, Milana from Underline Ventures here. I've been working for Underline for 2 years right now. The fund itself is 3 years old. It's our first fund. We are investing in pre-seed and seed stage companies from CEE, or better to say in the CEE talent across the globe as well. We are industry agnostic. We can invest in basically any vertical we find attractive, as far as we manage only private capital. So far, we have invested in 1 Ukrainian startup. We don't have any Belarusian one in our portfolio, but we are actively talking to them. And also, we have invested in immigrants from CEE across the globe. This is also one of the core focus.
Gotcha. And Assima, tell us about your fund and your experience as well, please.
Thank you, Dmitry. My name is Assima. I represent MA7 Ventures. MA7 Ventures is a Kazakhstan-based VC structure comprised of a fund and the largest syndicate in Central Asia. It's founded and led by Murat Abdrakhmanov, the most recognized VC investor in Central Asia. And Murat has invested as an angel, as a VC investor, over $27 million in over 60 startups within the last 10 years. So we mostly invest in early stage startups that the vast majority of which is led by CIS founders, but operates globally. So founders are typically from Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Ukraine. More than 20% of our portfolio is actually Ukrainian startups. We have invested in Yop as well. And I came here specifically from Kazakhstan to look for prospective Belarusian startups.
That's cool. Have you invested in Belarusian startups except for Yop, or just this one?
No, not yet.
Okay. So I see we have 1, 0, 1, 4, and 1. Correct? 0? Red track? No, not really. No, it's a Belarusian. So here we have first answer to the
You
question.
should count capital in, not the number of investments.
Well, yeah, this is what might be one of the reasons, but actually the startup, which most of us considers here as a Belarusian one, you name as the Ukrainian. We know the founders; they are in the room. We know the staff; they're in the room. Maybe they were in the room previously. I don't see them right now, but still, maybe first problem being that Belarusians don't sell their personality or national identity now. They're hiding it. But maybe, Borys, I would switch to you first because you have the most experience with Belarusians. Any particular, characteristics that define them or not really?
I would prefer to start with the good ones. The reason we have for investments was because I took proactive role in that. I've been at this event a few times and a few other events by the Belarusian community in Poland a few times. So I kind of started to get to know people, who is who, and I started getting the deal flow. Like I met Alex, for example, and he got me Nevedovsky, and he got me 20 different startups. I met with Helen, and we invested in her startup. I met with Alex, the other Alex from SlickShift. Even before he was doing this SlickShift, he was doing something else then. So we had that. For 5 or 6 years, we already had some kind of relationship. So I was pretty proactive. If I wasn't, we probably wouldn't have any investments. And that's part of the reason why I think where the problem is. You guys very much interact with each other, but there's a lot of cultural differences, interestingly, between Poland and Belarus. I think the biggest one to me is that when I see a Belarusian, I can guess that the startup is from Belarus when I see a pitch deck without even the names. You guys don't mention yourself at all. You don't pitch your story. I have no clue who is doing. It's almost like a random team doing. There's no team slide, or there's team slide with just a few names. It's sometimes in Cyrillic. And then there is a full focus on product, which I don't care about at all, frankly. I only care about the team. That's the only thing I care about when I see the team. So I need really to understand who is building. And the relationship, the kind of talking to me like human to human, that's not existent. So I think that's the main thing I would say is the main problem. If I start to get to know you and to understand who you are, what you've built, also understand the complexities of Belarusian universities, startups. I only got into that because I was interested. So I starting to ping people from PandaDoc to see who is doing what and trying to get to see who is building. And I met some of the angel investors, and this way I'm kind of trying to validate you guys, but you're not helping. You're not helping. So I think that the kind of focus on the human, on the person versus on what you're building is the main difference. Even the Polish founders already, they know that the first slide should be the team slide, what I've achieved so far, why you should talk to me. And then it's oh, that's my current assumption, but that's going to change anyway.
Last year, when we had the BelTech here, a day before, we had a discussion about the Belarusian culture and the mentality and what kind of strengths it has or what weaknesses. And the top one, named by all experts in the room, business school leaders and other people, they said, we don't know how to sell ourselves. We so don't know how to sell ourselves. And the bubble being the second one. Living in the bubble, always, blurring BelTech, why not CE Tech? I was asked that multiple times now. Well, maybe
there is hope. But there is hope because Polish was exactly the same in the 90s. And we switched and we kind of completely transformed.
Okay.
So it's just work and it's just more interactions with someone who's not Belarusian.
30 more years to go and it should be it. Assima, you said yourself that as Borys, you're aiming to take the proactive approach. How are you going to look for Belarusian startups? Any ideas where to find them, or why are you interested in them specifically? What made you being interested in Belarusian startups from the very beginning?
Well, how I'm going to find them, I was hoping you will introduce me to the first one. I'm just kidding. Actually, why we're interested is that because we believe that talent is distributed equally all over the world, and it's mostly about opportunities. Some regions have less opportunities, some regions have more opportunities. And even though some regions might be overlooked, like Central Asia, Eastern Europe, in general, CIS countries, we have a lot of talented people that have a lot of potential. And even though for some people it might be challenging to move abroad and try to conquer the US markets or European markets, founders of startups are usually the boldest ones. So, and most importantly, why we do it is also because we have a network, really good network in Kazakhstan, Central Asian, Ukrainian, Belarusian community. So we believe with enough fuel of capital, we can have a moonshot. Like in Kazakhstan, we recently had a portfolio startup that was kind of like a moonshot for Kazakhstan, and we are the first investors in those startups. So it would be nice to catch a moonshot like that from Belarusian community.
Michal, I was thinking about the thing we've discussed about the going US market fully, which Assima just mentioned, or trying to conquer it. Of course, there is a European market and there are local markets. Back when we were living in Belarus, as Dmitry Gursky said and Konstantin Zapolyansky mentioned in their speeches, we didn't have the market, right? Now, living here, there is a local opportunity and you've got some experience with that. Could you share with us, do you think it's a viable strategy to go local markets and then grow? Maybe now there is no need to go all US from the very beginning in case of Belarusian startups, because from what I see, they still do that. They still from the very beginning say just US.
I would say if life brought you to Poland, don't try to sell to Polish market, because that's the biggest problem of all the Polish startup. They start to sell in Poland and you can build a $20-50 million worth of a business in Poland, have a comfortable life, they get a comfortable, and it's done. Yeah. If you try to build a business for Lithuania, which is like super tiny, this business will not be able to pay 2 developers' salary. Like you need to go global. And Lithuanian ecosystem, it's just amazing. Like all of these people are building companies that have truly global potential. Like there is this coined term like middle market trap, which Poland is facing. And like just because you are in Poland, don't screw your opportunity to build a big global business by building something locally. And I would say if you want to improve your odds, you should like move to US, like get a visa, go to SF and build the connections there. It significantly increases your chances for a very big outcome. If not, you can build from here or from Europe but going after global or US markets. We actually had 2 days ago Vital Laptenok on our internal conference, and I specifically asked him like about their African strategy that they had with the Genesis group, and he told me like it was easier to do, but it actually held them back for a few years to become like a truly big and global company. Because then they got locked in on a market that effectively has much, much lower potential. And only now, after years, as a group, they're able to have some of the products that are truly global. So like, don't focus on Poland, don't focus on any other market in the region because they're even smaller, and go after US ASAP.
If I may add here, I would a little bit disagree because I think everybody's pushing to the US, but you also have sometimes startups that their core market is not the US one. So, for example, in our portfolio, we have a travel tech startup, and basically there is no sense of going to the US because their core market is whatever is connected to tourism, like Italy, Spain, any island. So I don't think that every startup should go to the US. If there is a core market for yourself, if this is the biggest market, which is like highly probably it is, then go there. But if you should identify your focus market first.
Travel is probably big, but I would assume Italy and Spain will not make you a $10 billion worth of a company.
Sure, but you gotta you gotta first identify the markets that are active enough. US is not that active in international traveling. So I would rather go with this specific startup to the European resorts and then probably Asia, and after it to go to the US market.
I mean, US is the simplification, because US is just, if you compare US to whole EU, there's just one much bigger market, and it's not like you're gonna go for EU. You're gonna need to go for Germany, then for France, then for Italy, etc. And it's much, much harder. But if the product is not tailored to US market, like, then it makes sense. And obviously you have a lot of examples of big businesses in the EU, but statistically it's just way easier to do it when you're tackling the US market.
Had a comment, no?
I fully agree.
Okay, I was thinking of switching our focus a bit to how to build visibility here. Obviously, what market you are targeting is very important, but first you need to get money. And I think that the fundraising is the top one problem among Belarusian IT companies here, especially early stage IT companies. So we did a couple of researches 1.5 years ago, and fundraising was far ahead of any other problem. But they still don't sell themselves. How can Belarusian startups, any other immigrant startups, build the visibility here in the region?
Maybe I can contribute. In my research, I looked at not just at Belarusian or CEE immigrants, but immigrants as a whole. So the numbers are as follows. About 63% of all the unicorn companies in the US between 2013 and 2023 were founded by either an immigrant founder or a child of an immigrant. So there's a growing amount of literature and research trying to understand why are immigrants such successful founders. And there's 6 kind of themes that have been identified so far. And maybe that will inspire some of you to kind of think about how you can highlight that part of your story. And I'll mention a couple. So one is that very often the kind of cognitive traits that immigrant founders raising or building companies outside exhibit are correlating to their ability to take up more risk, to spot opportunity, because they constantly need to adjust to changing environments. They need to deal with a lot of scarcity. They're very good with, or they understand the value of money. And this is something that has been identified by researchers who studied immigrant founders, right? This is not anecdotal. So the value of money is a big one, being resourceful. A lot of founders who end up in the US, they actually start their journey into the US through scholarships at universities, which means they graduate without debt, which allows them to take on more adventurous and risky career paths, etc. So think about how some of these, like your unique journeys as entrepreneurs, how can you also tie it to the risk of moving, of being in exile, of adjusting to a new geography, navigating very different administrative challenges, etc. So that's something that my research tells me that could be highlighted in your pitches and how you present yourselves.
So while building the visibility, they should highlight the story, which Borys already actually highlighted, right? And we should tell who we are, tell what we've gone through with all of the situation happening in the region. This is number one. But of course, there are multiple possibilities in the local ecosystems that we might don't know about yet, at least very widely. We don't know about local accelerators much. We don't know about local even funds much. And we don't know about the key startup hubs or events happening, right? Every Belarusian startups, they will go to the U-Hub and hang out. Every Belarusian startup once in a year, they will come here to the BelTech. But what are actually the regular events, except from the Venture Cafe, which is here, right? Exactly on this floor. What are the events? What are the opportunities, accelerators that we are missing out? How should we look for them? What are the top suggestions?
Maybe quick, like let's go back to like immigrants in general, because a lot of our founders, we invest in a lot of California-based Central Eastern European founders, for example. The reason we invest in them is because no one else wants to invest in them, frankly, because we know them. And we know them before they kind of do that switch. And then they kind of start getting to know the ecosystem. And then they start being a proper Silicon Valley startup. We want to be the first to put the money in. But what they do, they go to events, of course, but they mostly speak with other founders. So that's the main thing I think you guys should start doing. So the way, the best intros we're getting for investment is from our portfolio founders or from some other founders, not from VCs, because VCs are never getting you good intros. Why would they? They want to invest in the best companies. If they make an intro, that means that's not a great company. So I never trust VCs unless there is like space in the round and we're good friends, blah, blah, blah. But the founders, they always want to promote the other best founders. So the best way, like we have this example of Ihor from Worky, who recently moved to California, a Ukrainian startup, but he moved to California and he already made 7 different angel investments. He get from different people, from Americans, in Silicon Valley, but he know no one. But how he started getting to know people, he pinged all the Central Eastern Europeans who've been in California already, and they're very, very willing to help. So don't get into that trap of talking to other immigrant founders from Belarus, because they are in the same position. You should be going to UHub, because that's great to have the community support. And this is super, super essential. And the Polish founders also go to Polish events in San Francisco, but that's 1% of the events they go to. They mostly hang out with, wherever their industry is. If you're doing in tourism, go to tourism meetup in Poland. There is so many different meetups here and in Europe in general that you should be able to find those. So I would say talk to angels, talk to founders, and this way, just become known in the ecosystem. And you're going to be very soon, the Belarusian guy in energy in Poland, for example. And that this way, way more easier to kind of get to us as VCs, because we need those signals.
Sure. Thanks, Borys. Michal, any advice on your side?
I think I would say I really believe in the concept of people who are hubs. So, for example, when we send somebody from our portfolio to the US and it's a Polish guy, there are 3 guys who are super well connected there and can make you 20 valuable intros. Yeah. Similarly, if it's a Balkan founders, we have this kind of hub people that are Balkan founders in SF. And I think it can work like that here in Poland. You should find or build as a community these people who are very well connected in the ecosystem, and through them you build the connections. And other point is you asked for specific events. For example, there is AI Tinkerers or Next Play, which are kind of global initiatives that are also in Poland that are not at all targeting Polish people, and you can probably get many more of those. Those are actually the 2 that we're constantly sponsoring. So that's why I'm mentioning. But there really are a lot of other this type of meetups, especially around AI. So hackathons, hopefully soon there will be first hacker house in Poland. Go there, build, ship stuff, and show you can actually build. I would reverse the question a little bit, because you mentioned that you as a community don't know the Polish market. I think there is a lot of work to be done for the Polish market to learn your community. What are the top schools? When I see Borys mentioned there is nothing on the slide. When I see a slide and there is a school, I have no clue whether it's good or not, and there is a company which tells me nothing, then it's a bullshit team slide. And it's a lot of educating the ecosystem, what are the top 10 companies out of Belarus that if you worked for them, you really have great experience. Yeah. I know, for example, if you worked at Palta, you probably know how to acquire traffic, how to build retentive products, etc. Or if you worked at Flow Health. Yeah. I know if you worked with Ilya, with Voci, and maybe, went to Pinterest, but very few people in Poland know that. Yeah. And it is about some PR, etc. PandaDoc, it's not a known fact that a lot of people who are behind PandaDoc are based out of Warsaw, and it's a very successful company. And there's a lot of educational work to be done on the investor side, because you have like 30 seconds attention on the pitch deck. If I see the slide and nothing rings a bell, then it's gone. Yeah. Probably if it wasn't for Dimash Fetz, who's like in our portfolio, who recommended Bahram that it's a strong guy, we wouldn't deep dive. Yeah. And it took me a lot of effort to actually understand the ecosystem, figure out with whom I should do the referral checks, etc. Yeah, and it's maybe because I never did like the proactive work to have connections in the ecosystem. But like, you know, VCs are lazy. Make their life easier.
Yeah, actually, you emailed me that would be actually a good thing to discuss. What are the top schools and what should you look for? I don't want to be the one stealing the floor of the funds here, but one honest thing that I should say is that our higher education system has discredited the principle of competition, which is the largest problem, meaning that every stupid person will graduate 100%. They don't kick out people because they want financial income. So even if you enter the university with the highest entering score, they're graduating a lot of very, very bad educated people. That's the problem. So there are no benchmarks in education in Belarusian life, but there are benchmarks in companies. There are benchmarks in their other experience. The Western countries were very, very active in soft education in our region. So there were a lot of German or British or American educational programs. And those who went to those were quite successful. So that's the short answer, not to steal much more.
I mean, just an example. I remember when I was doing background checks on Bahram, and it's just my only case. But he was studying physics at, I forgot at which university. But it was kind of clear that, okay, this is a sign that he's really good in like the analytical side, basically. Yeah, and that was somebody from the ecosystem told me, and it was kind of common knowledge.
Milana, do you think Belarusians are being considered as the competition in the region? How do you see it from the perspective of the fund, which has the CE as the key focus? Are we even seen, or maybe we are quite a strong competitive power?
I don't think Belarusians are perceived as a competition at all. It's rather a cooperation than competition and a new inflow of talent. So VC funds are happy because they have new founders and new blood to invest and new people to talk to, new talent, basically. And founders are also happy because Belarusians are very good at tech. They have a very strong math and tech background. So I rather see this as a field for cooperation. Although the biggest trap for the community that I can see is that the community of Russian and Ukrainian speaking startups in Poland is big enough to be a separate community, which is good because you have a lot of connections who also moved from Russian speaking countries and Ukraine to Poland. But then you sort of don't have this urgent need to be integrated within the Polish ecosystem.
Assima, I was meaning to say that now the Kazakhstan introduces the new regulation and also tax incentives, which many European countries don't have this level of the incentives. And after living in the very, very comfortable high-tech park ecosystem back in Belarus, where we had almost zero taxes, it was mentioned today by one of the product panels that it was almost a paradise. Do you think that actually Kazakhstan can compete very strongly for those CEE founders because of the financial incentives, like the Cyprus did at some point?
Yeah, I think 100% it matters a lot because tax expense for all companies is usually the largest expense on the P&L. So in Kazakhstan, the government likely supports IT companies by providing them with tax benefits. Particularly, they're free from corporate income tax, from VAT, and from several other taxes for just 1% of revenue. That's the only commission that you're supposed to pay. And of course, especially for early stage startups, when at pre-seed, seed stages, every dollar counts and every dollar has value. Such benefits definitely boost the whole ecosystem by boosting the first layer of early stage startups.
But the startups have no revenue. Like no profits? How does it boost it? Like most of the early stage startups don't care about taxes at all.
The VAT, then taxes on salaries, like salary
So
tax.
there's no taxes on salaries in.
They're reduced like by half or so.
Okay, that's great. That's probably gonna boost the outsourcing industry more than the startups, because startups are not really choosing. Taxes are like the 10th probably reason to set up in a specific place, but for outsourcing, that probably is gonna boost it.
Yeah. In any case, it really reduces the burn rate, and they also provide other benefits like besides taxes, like community events and grants and things like that.
Because there is definitely a competition going among the countries, but there is also regional politics which plays a role, right? And sometimes the politics overcomes this desire to compete, which happened to the Poland Business Harbor program, which was very, very bad hit on the Belarusian ecosystem and the inflow of the talent because of the politics, of course. The same things happens in Lithuania. I know, Vanda, that you are Polish official of the Iron Wolf, but still in Lithuania, every one of the persons in the room must probably heard that there is a pressure going on the visas, residence permit, which is
100%.
one of the hardest in the region. So what do you think? Should the countries fight for this talent, or the political risk is higher? They should just close up, and the founders, on the other hand, they should just say, okay, then we move to the US. We go next. We don't care.
Yeah, it's very sad. So apparently, the entire kind of Belarusian tech community in Vilnius is now relocating to Poland. Good for Poland, but not so great for Lithuania. So out of there's according to some sources, there's about 9 unicorn companies affiliated with Lithuania, of which 2 are with Belarusian founders or origin. That's Flow Health and Wargaming. And to combine these 2 companies, the 2 companies out of 1,000 startups employ 3% of the entire Lithuanian tech workforce. So that's remarkable. On top of that, Wargaming is amongst the 5 biggest taxpayers in Lithuania when it comes to startups, and amongst the top 3 employers with 800 plus employees. So if we are really interested in boosting the economy, we should also not oversee the positive impact that immigrant founders, immigrant talent is bringing into the country. So I'm very upset about the situation. And I'm happy to hear that Poland is way more friendly to Belarusian transplants.
Do you think it will remain so in Poland over the next years, or shall we wait for some also deduction in the now? Should be good.
I don't see any discussion even in public about Belarusians in Poland at all. I think mostly there is a very positive view on Belarusians in Poland. I haven't heard really even big politicians speaking on the topic. Definitely Ukrainians, because that was a sudden kind of urge, growth of immigration. There's been some right-wing parties, speaking of that. I think you guys are under the radar, which is good. Poland hates Russia. We have no problem with Belarus. And I think you should be taking advantage of that and proudly stating that you're from Belarus, because at least when you say that, we can, take the filter off that you're not from Russia, which is always great. We, obviously for Russians, it could be really hard in Poland, which is also sad because there's amazing, a number of amazing Russians in the startup community, but getting funded in Poland would be super hard because of the politics.
Sure. I was thinking about what you've said, that it's very good that we are under the political radar, mostly. Let's switch to finally a very practical advice. How do we get on yours, right? So name 1 or 2 things that every founder in this room should do to get on your radar. Sending you an email with the pitch doesn't count.
mean, sending him an email is a great start, but like, please send a personal email. Like, be a human. That's the number one thing. Like, I want to meet persons. I want to meet your story. I want to understand who you are, especially if we don't have common connections. The only way to get on my radar is by saying an interesting fact of yourself and the reason to meet you. And I'm super, super easy to meet, really. Like, I do every Friday, I meet two random people in a cafe nearby, and I kind of announce that every time on LinkedIn. And I've seen, people from all over, and that's the great way for me to meet people from really outside of our network. The only thing I need for that meeting is that I don't know, I haven't met you before. So it's, hi, Maxim. So that's my first Belarusian hub in Poland, like from 10 years ago. Be like Maxim, reach out, be a human person, get me amazing deal flow. Even if you're not fundraising for a startup now, try to become the hub, or like even a small hub. Get me some interesting insight for me. That's helpful. And I'm gonna definitely, be helpful to you in that case.
So direct reach out is one, but also I would say that be visible in the ecosystem is also super helpful. Just be on stage, pitch in the competitions, go to events, do whatever, be on LinkedIn, because VCs are also scrolling LinkedIn from time to time, just reaching out to founders. Basically just be visible, be active, and the direct reach out is not the only way. And I think that basically being active is more scalable than direct reach out.
Use WhatsApp, not Telegram, and be on LinkedIn in English. Super important. Like, your communication, if you're a startup founder, whole communication needs to be in English. Super important. If I see anything in Cyrillic, I'll run.
Any other practical advice here?
So, first of all, find a relevant founder or somebody whom we trust and have this person recommend you. So just to give an example, if you're building in DevOps and Marcin Wyszyński, founder of Spacelift, comes and say, wow, this is a really cool product, we're gonna be like chasing you to take a meeting. Yeah. So you don't come to us, we chase you. And the other point, most of the VCs have some kind of AI, figure out how it works and make the VC AI put you on the top so that they reach out to you. It's better to have a pull than to push yourself. Don't do direct reach out. It's like, I teach VC in Warsaw School of Economics, and one of the homeworks I give is always to prepare like how they would reach out to an VC. And if somebody says, yeah, I found this investor, I'll write him a cold message on LinkedIn, this is the message. It's like 0 points. Yeah, it's the worst you can do.
I completely disagree, by the way. So I've seen 99.9% of really shitty cold reach out, and that's true. So if you're the top 0.1%, you actually stand out if you do cold reach out. And I've met so many people but just doing cold reach out to me. But how do you do this? Kind of hard, because you have to put a lot of effort into that. And it needs to be very personal, and it needs to be super interesting. And I'm gonna definitely meet you if you do that. A really good cold reach out. Maybe I've seen 5 of those in my career, though.
Yeah, I would agree with Borys that cold reach out works, and a really good one really stands out from the rest. And as a Kazakhstani-based VC, I wanted to add that Belarusian startups often overlook Kazakhstani VC ecosystem, but actually we get a lot of inbound applications from the whole CIS region, Ukraine too, for example, and it would be nice to get inbound applications from Belarusian startups as well.
Sorry, I would argue back, because I think what you mentioned is an anecdotal evidence. And statistically, the cold reach out doesn't work, and if it works, it's an inferior quality of companies.
Because statistically, it's spam. Like, I don't do spam. Because like what people say, I want to reach out to some VC, so they come up with a mass mail program. They put the VC names in Excel and then send an email to all of those VCs. Sometimes GPT does like some personalization. That never works. But if you actually put the effort and write an email yourself, you know why you want to meet me specifically. I would say probably 80% success rate.
And sorry, can I?
That's likely correct. Probably if you want to put this effort, it's easier to go through somebody who's relatable to you as a founder and be recommended.
Building on that, I think for Lithuania specifically, we do have a good relationship with a lot of Belarusian angels. So a referral from an angel in your community, and I know they're quite active and very supportive of their own enclaves. So the likes of Angel Band in Vilnius, and I know that they're organizing an accelerator for emerging startups right now with the coming new fall batch being announced any week now. So make sure you are visible in those angel communities first and foremost. That would be my 2 cents.
And maybe last but not least, don't be late for the session with the people who give you money because they might not share them afterwards. Okay, I see that Kirill signs back that we have a lack in the time, but maybe let's take a couple of questions from the audience. Can we have the mic here? I'll share mine, that's fine.
As one who was mentioned by Borys, just maybe a few observations on my side. Being like living in Poland for 15 years, I would say that for those who are here, Polish community is very welcome. So just go there, attend meetings, and we've met with Borys like 10 years ago, and like I've seen each other many times all around the world, and I was always welcome to, I don't know, to go somewhere on drinks or spend some time or talk or be introduced, and this works. On the other side, I've been on the side of a venture capital firm investing into Belarusian and Ukrainian companies, and I believe that maybe it's also on your side to make your countries more attractive, because from my observation, the best one from Belarus, Ukraine, or other, they go straight to the US. Yeah, so when you need to find a way how to catch them from there, right? When they're not here. But maybe a question I wanted to ask to you, and is it still relevant, that strategy you're saying that you're investing in founders who have some roots in this region, because it's much cheaper to have team here? Is it still true, or it's changing, or it's not working anymore? Like it's cost same money as people somewhere in other regions?
We don't do it because it's cheaper. We do it because we cannot do anything else. You know, we know people. The network, our network is here, so it just makes sense to every VC invest locally. Every small VC like us invest locally. That's the main reason. Is it cheaper? It's a competitive advantage if you are in San Francisco and then you hire a team in Warsaw. It's still a competitive advantage, mostly, but not because it's cheaper, but mostly because if you're building a product company out of San Francisco and hiring in Warsaw, you're gonna be a really hot company here. There isn't like, hundreds of amazing startups here. Even if you're building, like I was building an ad tech, a San Francisco-based ad tech in Warsaw, it was super easy to hire the best engineers because there was like, a great company with a great founding team in San Francisco, BitTorrent founders who, it's just, you don't get too many of those companies. So that's the main reason. You're much more hot if you know the network, you know how to hire, but you sell somewhere else. I think that's the main reason. That's why we invest.
Got it.
I think if I could give a very specific example. So a portfolio company of ours called Sintra, they're on a very successful trajectory, like $10 million ARR in first year. They went to SF for 1 month as a whole team. And after that, they decided, okay, we're building in Vilnius. And the reason for that was they were able to raise whatever they wanted. Yeah, they raised like half of what the VCs offered them. And so they could have hired these engineers for $500,000 a year in US. The problem was, why would they attract a top engineer, growth person, whatever in SF, if he can go to the sexiest startup or to Anthropic or to OpenAI? While in Vilnius, offering them a quarter of that salary, they can get absolutely like top 3 Lithuanian people in particular domain, which are very likely stronger than those in SF. Yeah. And you have in a tiny Lithuania, you have enough, like at every domain, people who are on this like absolute top global level there. And I think right now they're one of the hottest employers in Vilnius. Because why would you work for Vinted? Like it's a boring corporate job. Yeah, you can go and like build really.
Okay, let's take one very short last question. Any hands in the hall? Immediate questions? All
right, quick question. When you evaluate startups, you mostly rely on your gut feeling or liking the founders, or the technical analysis of and the figures and the idea and your venture fund, let's say, specialization or industry focus. So it's always gut feeling and like you need to be likable, like Dmitry said before.
In my case, yes, but maybe someone else can answer.
So for us, team is a first sparkle, and without this element, we absolutely don't do the investment. But team is not the only one. At pre-seed, and actually at seed as well, we are looking at a specific unique insight of a founder and specific point of view, and then we build scenarios of the opportunity that we see on the market, and we discuss, and we do it internally in the VC team, and then we go and talk to the founders, asking them if this is how they see the market, or like what are their point of view. If we agree then to test this hypothesis, then we invest.
Yeah, same for us. We do a complex analysis, but if we have doubts about the founders, whether they can pull it off or not, then it's not worth it.
I second everything that's been said, and I'll give you one little secret about across many early stage funds, about 80% of all investments will be made into a small bucket of pipeline companies that come from warm referrals as well. So being likable, being a strong team with domain expertise, but also coming from inside the network is increasing your chances very much to get the funding.
I wouldn't say being likable. I would say being exceptional in something. Like look for people who clearly. Sorry. So for us, we're in a camp of I really like the founder versus 80 pages deal memo. And for us, we need to see signs of greatness. You can be an asshole who's like top in whatever, DevOps, for example. And or you can be an amazing networker, and that's like your superpower. But you need to have like a zone of genius where you clearly stand out versus other people. That's what we look for.
Thanks, Michal. So ladies and gentlemen, let's be visible. Let's spam a lot of calls to the Borys. Don't spam to Michal, right?
No, don't spam
and
to me
please,
either,
after this session, know how to sell yourself, be visible to the European and Asian VCs. And I hope that you will enjoy the networking with our investors who hopefully will stay for the day. Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure and honor to talk to you.
Thank you.